Hi guys, this is Mark Shawson, the Pattern Trader. Since well before the break, I started tipping to our members. I started suggesting to our members that they start accumulating long Australian dollar trading pairs. Now, the Australian dollar looks like it's going strong against just about every major currency on the board. So whether you choose to go long Australian versus US, Australian versus Canadian, Australian versus Swiss, I think over time it is going to pay off. The Australian dollar has been in a long-term downtrend against the US dollar for the last 10 years, but that all turned around at the depth of the pandemic in March, where the Australian dollar dropped from 95 cents to 55 cents. Now we're trading about 70 cents to the US dollar. And frankly, I see the Australian dollar trading to parity, which means that it'll be 1-to-1 with the US dollar. Right now it's trading around 77 cents. So about another 25% move on the upside for the Australian dollar if that were to occur, and probably would motor through that level once it got there. So I have been very bullish the prospects of the Australian dollar. In a moment, I'm going to go to the real-time charts. I'm going to show you what I've been looking at, how I advise our members to get long these Australian dollar trading pairs, and I have just been sitting in these positions.
Before I go to the real-time charts of the Australian dollar correlated trading pairs and why I'm so excited about the upside, I want to share with you a couple of emails that I sent out late last year. This was on November 8th. I entitled my email Dollar Permafrost because I was seeing a gigantic bear price pattern in the US dollar, and I also believed that the Australian dollar was going to be most likely to go up against the US dollar. So you can see in this email, I analyzed the Australian dollar as it was performing this inverted head and shoulders. I'll go to the real-time charts in just a moment, show you what I was looking at the time, where I was encouraging or suggesting our members to start accumulating Australian dollar, US dollar at 73. We're trading at 77 right now. And I said at the time, based on the long-term price patterns in the US dollar index, I believe the dollar has begun a long-term descent. I made a video about that. I said I'm currently long Australian dollar at 72.57, but I'm looking to add to my positions based on the bullish price patterns that we were seeing at the time. This is another of my emails that went out to thousands of our members around the world on Sunday, December 13th. I entitled my email Aussie Dollar Bull. In that I said the Australian dollar is the strongest currency versus all the major currencies. I believe that this trend will likely to continue. This is a real-time chart of the Australian dollar versus the US dollar on a weekly chart where each one of these bars represents 1 week in price action. So you can see while it looks like we have a squiggly pattern, an up and a down movement in the Australian dollar versus US dollar, I believe that we have staked out a very serious bullish price pattern in the form of this inverted head and shoulders. Now, an inverted head and shoulders, just what it sounds like. It's an upside down version of a head and shoulders price pattern where you see the left shoulder, the trough is the head, and this is the right shoulder. But what you'll notice is that the right shoulder is sitting above the left shoulder, and so this creates a uniquely upslanted or upsloping neckline. Now, a neckline is simply a line that is drawn through the entirety of the price pattern, and you can see this confirmed the breakout of this inverted head and shoulders price pattern. But by virtue of this upsloping neckline, this implies that not only is this a very bullish price pattern, but it implies that we are going to go much higher very quickly in Australian dollar versus US dollar. In this chart, I'm looking at the Australian dollar versus the Canadian dollar. This is a weekly chart, and it looks just like Australian versus US, where we see this inverted head and shoulders, again, with this right shoulder sitting above the left, creating this upsloping neckline. And by virtue of the upsloping neckline, the implication is that this is not only bullish, but likely to go very quickly once it breaches this neckline. In this chart, I'm looking at the Australian dollar versus the Swiss franc. This is a weekly chart, and this is a more conventional looking head and shoulders, where we have the neckline horizontal. So you remember in Australian versus Canadian and the US, the right shoulder was sitting above the left. You can see in this case they're pretty much even, creating this horizontal neckline. Either way, the implications of an inverted head and shoulders is a bullish price pattern. The upsloping neckline implies that it will go even faster, but the fact that we've broken out above this neckline implies a higher trajectory for Australian versus Swiss franc. So this was a quick view on the strength of the Australian dollar against most major currencies across the board. They've all formed this familiar looking upside down head and shoulders price pattern, the inverted head and shoulders. And I will be talking a lot more about this in the upcoming webinar series.
So I hope you got a ton of input out of that little video. If you'd like to understand a little bit more about my price pattern and price action trading methodology and how I look at setups that translate into broad moves, then I highly suggest that you sign up for my webinar series coming up very soon, in which I will go live at the end of each trading session, examine on the charts all of the trades that I'm looking at for the next session, tell you why I'm looking at certain trades or why I'm looking to reject certain trades. This was one of the most highly sought, the most highly applauded thing that I've done at the Pattern Trader. We did this just before the break. We did this, over the shoulder, going live each day, and we got a ton of great reviews and said this was one of the best things they ever saw, that really elevated their trading knowledge, really elevated their understanding of how to make good risk-reward trades in the marketplace. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. Be sure to book your place. It will be probably sold out. I anticipate there'll be thousands on this webinar. So I look forward to seeing you on this series very soon. And with that said, I wish you a healthy and prosperous trading week, and I will see you on the other side.